brave man, and he was a man that, as a captain, he believed in leadership. And he would say, you know, to hell with a supervisor, follow a leader. The word supervision was not in his vocabulary. But in those days, the Ranger captain got out in the field more and got to lead more than they do today. Now today they're tied up, you know, with computers and things like that, and Austin don't. When I speak of Austin, that's where the headquarters are. Those captains don't get the opportunity to get out like they did in the 60s and 70s. But anyway, Captain Ali in that Carrizo Springs jailbreak, I was stationed 50 miles south of Carrizo Springs, and Carrizo was the company headquarters, and there was about 14 or 15 men that jumped the jailer. The jailer lived in the jail, which is a common thing back in those days, and he and his wife had quarters in the jail, and they went to feed them lunch. They jumped them, and in the jailer bed, he was a commissioned peace officer, in fact, a deputy sheriff, and they went inside their apartment or their rooms and got all these weapons, all the way from 22 midnight specials, I call them, look like a starter gun, to 45 automatics, 45 Colt single. I see even one or two 45 Colt single actions, a couple of rifles, 2 or 3 22 rifles, and this guy got loose and managed the deputy got loose and called and got a hold of the town marshal, who later became a sheriff there in that county. And he responded, and when he responded, they started shooting at him, and he started calling for help. And the captain called me, and I drove from Uvalde to Carrizo in 50 miles in 22 minutes. And got there.
So you were moving.
Yeah. But it's just a rural area and no traffic, you know.
Yeah, oh yeah.
But anyway, when I got there, it's kind of a humorous part of that story is that I had just got me a new resistol felt hat, and of course, as all law enforcement officers, especially in those days, the salaries weren't that good, and so we always looking for a bargain on a hat or a pair of boots or something. But I just bought this brand new hat, and I'd gotten out of the car and bullets were flying everywhere, and the first thing that crossed my mind, like a lot of officers will tell you that's been there and done that weird things cross your mind sometimes. The first thing I thought of was, I hope they don't shoot a hole in my new hat. I'm thinking about what was in it.
Were there a lot of rounds flying, or were there a lot of rounds being fired?
Yeah, there were. There was a lot of firing going on. We had a couple of people I think no officers were hit, a couple of citizens were hit. One was fragmentation that was looking around a corner of the building, and another one I seemed like it got hit in the hand or arm or something. But anyway, when I got there, the captain had been firing tear gas into the building, and it was being a jail, and with steel bars on the outside as well as bars on the inside. Those tear gas projectiles were hitting those bars. There's a hell of a lot more tear gas outside the jail than there was in it. In fact, I don't think there's very little in it. But anyway, I got there, the captain see me, and I ran over by him, and I had at that time I was carrying an M2 carbine, and I had a short barrel 30, but I had it left it in the car and got that carbine and had a selector on it, full automatic, and a couple of 30-round magazines. But anyway, I went by the captain, and we went around to I went around to the east side of the jail, and they were firing still going on, and I fired some bursts of 4 to 6 round bursts into these windows. It looked like a swarm of fireflies when it was hitting those metal bars. But anyway, a little bit they hard. King's X, they wanted to talk. They wanted to stop shooting. They wanted to talk. So the captain and I was walking around to the north side of the jail, and the captain said, "I'll give you SOBs till 10 to come out of there." And he went to counting. He counted about 5 and started shooting with a little short barrel 30 he had. I said, Captain, that's not 10. He said, well, them SOBs can't count. But anyway, we got in, went around the front, and come in the front of the jail, and the captain, myself, and a couple other rangers, and Kyle Dawson and Art Rodriguez, and then a couple of deputies behind us. One of the deputies that came with me had one of the old-time Army grease guns, 45 caliber grease gun. And the captain turned around and grabbed that grease gun, and of course that jail being all concrete and steel, and he went to firing up that stairway with that grease gun. And I always said, well, that's probably the most dangerous part of that whole shootout, because them 230 grain bullets were ricocheting all around the place.
Yep.
And but anyway, we started up. Me and another Ranger Dawson started up the stairs, and he grabbed it, hold of us, jerked us back. That there's not any of my men going to get killed in front of me, and that's the kind of leader he was. But we went up, got them all, and they were all huddled up in the corner of one of those cells. I think there was 14 of them. But they had dropped all the weapons. We found weapons laying everywhere. Food tray deals where they slide food through the deal, weapons laying on those, weapons on the floor. All the weapons were loaded. Some of them were cocked like 45, 1911 with hammerback and the safety off. I remember one Colt's single action revolver was still cocked and over a live round. And we confiscated all the guns and got them out, and that pretty well took care of that. Kind of another humorous part of that thing was that there was a couple of town drunks that every Saturday night the sheriff put them in jail, find them out on the streets drunk. And they were over in another cell. They weren't involved in the jailbreak at all. In a cell to themselves. Matter of fact, when I pulled up to the jail when I first got there, well, Captain Ali's son, Little Albert, we always called him, was out there. And he had a riot gun. And he hollered at me if I had any 12 gauge, if I had any shotgun shells. I said, yeah. And they were issued to us in 5-round boxes. I pitched him a couple of boxes of number 3 or number 4 buckshot. And but I could hear these guys up in the jail hollering, "Don't shoot, don't shoot!" And he was pulling away at them with that shotgun,
blasted away.
But when we went up there, we found them underneath those steel bunks that hang down the side of the wall. They were up underneath the bottom one, both of them underneath one of them steel bunks. And we got them out of there, and the funny thing about it, that little episode worked on them better than AA, because neither one of them, the sheriff later said, neither one of them ever showed up on the streets drunk again after that.
That was the end of it, right?
It was the end of their drinking career out on the streets, you know.
Absolutely. Just from the incident you described, Ranger Jackson, how long do you think that whole episode took? Because nowadays there would be hostage negotiation, we would do TAC plans, it would be a 3 or 4 day episode. And it seems like you guys, you just, especially this Captain Ali, he just took the bull by the horns and ran with it.
Yeah, of course, had the sheriff and his wife had they not gotten away with it, we could have very well had a hostage type situation.
Absolutely, yep.
But back in those days, we done less talking and more action, and pretty well put it to them. This is the way it is, and this is the way it is the way it's going to be. So, you got 1 or 2 choices: put down your guns and turn the hostage loose, or die.
Exactly.
But
exactly.
Anyway,
we kind of miss those days, right?
Right.